Hello, friends. So today again, I would like to invite a very good friend, a very learned astrologer, who is also very popular in our social media astrology community, who is none other than Anahita Rao. She has already been on our channel once on a discussion on the marriage yogas and relationship and all. And you would be surprised that she has got such a good fan base that at Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, where I'm also undertaking certain more courses, there people specifically asked me about, hey, this sutra being shared by Anhaita, we like that a lot, we shared that within our community. So after getting so good response, not only from people who are just beginning up, who love and like follow astrology, but even from the experts as well. So after having our thorough discussion on that, now we thought about taking it to the next level. These days there has been a lot of rise in the demand on the paranormal content on spirituality, spiritual powers, sudden rise to fame and all. So definitely all of that comes in the domain of nodes only, Rahu and Ketu only. So Anahita and I, like, we were having a casual discussion on that. Okay, what would be the next topic we can talk about involving Rahu and Ketu? So we were just going with different case study options, one after another, and suddenly the name of Osho came. So definitely after Osho, there's nothing more left. So in this video, Anahita, she has done such an amazing job. Anahita, you would not believe. I have, just because now I'm in India, I have enrolled for so many courses. I have so many videos to make on, but I'm so lazy enough to work on the presentation and all. And the kind of immaculate work you did on this presentation, oh my God, I'm actually very excited that there will be a lot which we will be presenting to our community, to our audience. And after this, I'll just give the stage to you. Anything which you want to add?
Yeah, no, great. No, I'm excited to be here again. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, I know we were trying to figure out, like, we knew that we wanted to speak about Rahu and Ketu, right? But we were trying to figure out which celebrity chart to use that really like very nicely demonstrates the power of the nodes. And we went through certain options, and this one just kind of, it was a conversation we were having, it just popped up, isn't it? Like
Yes.
it was like we didn't plan to talk about him, but it's such a good fit. His life is such a good fit with that, you know. So yeah, so without further ado, let's get into this. And I'm going to share my screen and we will look at the presentation together. Okay, here we are. So this is, you know, we have to give Nipin credit for this, because Rahu, the Insatiable, and Ketu, the Alchemist, this is his idea. It's not my.
I'm always the marketing guy, always the advertising guy.
So, and it's such a good fit for this particular example. Like, you know, Osho's whole life is you know, an indication of this. And we will see, you know, with his chart. In fact, let's just look at his chart now.
You know, one thing, Anahita, even before starting with his discussion on his chart, okay, whenever you listen to all these enlightened, elevated beings, I'll tell you, I'll be very honest with you. Like, whenever I read about these holy people and all, my Jupiter and Ketu gets activated. But it is so strange that very first time happened that, like, I have been on and off listening to Osho for a long time, but it invoked the feelings of Venus. Now, I do not know why I'm suddenly feeling loved towards a guru and God, because it has never happened with me. Whomsoever I found like very much inclined towards for the acquisition of knowledge and all, it's always the Ketu and the Jupiter feeling. But when it comes down to Osho, it not only invokes your Jupiter, your Ketu, but your Venus as well. Now we will get the answer of that, looking after his chart and all.
Yeah, well, the reason, of course, is, first of all, his Lagna is in Taurus. Secondly, look, there's 3 planets sitting in Venus's nakshatra, right? And look at here. I mean,
we'll start one by one. Let's start from the base.
Yeah. Lagna Lord Venus going to the 8th house. Okay. Second Lord going into the 8th house. 9th Lord, 10th Lord going into the 8th house. 7th Lord, 12th Lord going into the 8th house. Yeah. 3rd Lord going into the 8th house. Very powerful, actually. Third lord going to the 8th house. And look at that Jupiter. Who's the lord? I mean, who is the ruling planet of that Rahu and of all of this stellium in Sagittarius, Jupiter, sitting in retrograde, in Ganand, in Ashlesha, of all places. So we know that this man is going to have, whatever he does is going to be a very impactful life, right? And it's going to be connected to his speech.
Yes.
Right? It's definitely going to be connected to a speech. And even the D9, look at how like the nodes have just strengthened Venus and Jupiter, the two gurus, right? Venus and Jupiter, the two gurus have been massively strengthened. So if we look at his background, and I just want to like point out, the majority, like most of the information that I've gathered about him, it does come from Wikipedia. So you can look that up there. I have read some of his books, which I found amazing, every single one of them. Like I have to reread them because you get so much information. You said you get so much knowledge out from them. And I have also been to his ashram in Pune as well. So I am somewhat familiar with his ideas, his ideologies, and his even his meditation techniques. So he was born in an Indian village as Chandra Mohan Jain, right, into a Jain family. Eldest of 11 children, lived with grandparents till the age of 8. So again, you see the nodes.
Rahu Ketu, yes, very good.
Getting activated even before he, from the day he's born. And he was given freedom with no restrictions, nor any schedule, nor any education. Now, again, perhaps that's because he was living with his grandparents, right? Had it been his parents, things would have been differently. Profoundly affected by grandfather's death and the death of a close friend at age 18. 8th house is so activated in the chart, right? So he developed a preoccupation with death. Again, 8th house.
Yes.
Again, 8th house. So 8th house is responsible from a very young age to make an impact on him. And we know, I mean, we can see, I mean, the moon is there, Venus is there, Mercury is there, Lagna Lord and moon are both sitting in the 8th house. So we know how strong it is. Teenage years, he was a gifted student. He earned a reputation as a debater, but reading was his primary hobby. He was critical of traditional religions, even from a very young age. And he took an interest, therefore, in breath control, yoga, meditation, fasting, and occult. Again, 8th and 12th house. Where's Rahu? In Pisces. Right? Making a trine with that Jupiter. Interested in communism, anarchism. I mean, he was very, very well-read man. So Rahu Ketu impact. Rahu is sitting in Jupiter sign, Pisces. Jupiter is in Cancer, exalted, Ativakri retro. Okay, I actually just did a video on that. Yeah, I talked about retro planets, and it's very important to understand the distinction between Ativakri and Vakri, okay? Because this is actually something that a very good, like a teacher of mine had taught us about the distinction in retrograde planets. Yes, it's retrograde, and yes, your software is telling you it's retrograde, but look at the motion. Ativakri is basically very rebellious energy. It just doesn't want to do anything connected to what's out there, like what's expected of you, like the societal norms, conventions, whatever it is. That planet is just going to take you off that path, and it's going to rip you off that path. And because Jupiter is so strong and it's connecting to 6 planets, right? It's connecting to 6 planets. Wow. And the D9 is that it's also connecting to Ketu. So that Jupiter is dominating that chart. That Jupiter is dominating that chart. So it's in the 9th, and of course that making it even more concentrated, that energy, that Ashlesha energy, right? That rebellious, that unconventional, unorthodox. I'm not going to do what anyone tells me to. I have my own way, like very much his personality from a very young age. So that Rahu is going to give the results of that standout Jupiter. And so are those planets in the eighth house, right? So what are you thinking, Nipun?
Yeah,
What do you
yeah, Anata, actually, okay, can we go to the slide number 2?
prominent eighth house as well?
Yeah. See, because what I was like trying to figure out that when we talk about the role of Rahu and Ketu in his life, I was trying to figure out that the kind of the wealth which he attained and the kind of magnetic hypnotic attraction he had to conjure his followers, make his followers fall in love with his teaching, with his preaching and all. So how beautifully Rahu is acting in his life. See, Rahu is in the 11th house. 11th house has to do with the large group network. Rahu is in the Pisces sign, which has to do with something which is connected with transcendental state and level of awareness, which has to do with the meditation and the lot of that. See, we cannot just looking at this Rahu in the 11th house. We cannot say it that, okay, just because Rahu is in the Jupiterian sign, so it is not in a dignified state. It is going to be playing hide and seek with your luck because the dispositor is also exalted. That is also in another air house. So this is what we just get to know from the Rahu, that how strengthened this Rahu is. Like, and also all the stories and the facts which we have heard about him, that number of Rolls Royce he had. Again, see the inclination towards the vehicles only. That also tells about the Venusian energy. You know how strong the Venus and the Rahu 11th house, large network, group organization. So yes, you're very right that the Rahu placement in his chart just, I guess, demonstrate the peak of the potential and power of Rahu. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And we cannot ignore, I mean, look, one of the things that in the early days that people like why he's so charismatic because of his speech. There's a Parivartan happening between, Moon and Jupiter, right?
Hmm.
And that's again the third and eighth house.
And
That's
yes.
out.
And Anahata, in his case, if you will see that, okay, he is born with the moon nakshatra being of Venus. So that means that he started his life with in the excess of first and eighth house. And trust me, it is a very difficult energy to deal with. Okay, I will tell you, Anahita, in my case, I'm a Aries Lagna with my ascendant Lord Mars in the eighth house and Rahu sitting right over there in my ascendant, right? And my moon nakshatra is Sadbisha. So that means in the initial phase of my life, I started with Rahu active right over my first house, very tightly conjunct with my ascendant degree. And it used to be the case, like when I was a kid, like sometimes what used to be the case, I'm crying for no good reason. And rather than medicine working for me, there is a guy like in our, there was a family elderly guy. He used to very holy, spiritual, like a shaman, healer man. He will just take me in his hand lap. I'll stop crying. Out of nowhere, I start getting swelling in my face and body, and out of nowhere, it is going away. So I
Yeah.
had just experienced Rahu in the first few years of my life within the first house. Imagine dealing with so many planets in the eighth house. What kind of experiences you would have had? And no one believes you, right? When you share these kind of things, okay, I heard something, I looked at some shadow, I saw some wheel, no one is gonna believe you.
No, no. And that Rahu, we also have to see the Rahu is actually also connecting, not just through Jupiter with all of those five planets, but the sign aspect, right? They're all dual signs, Ketu,
Yes.
Rahu, and Sag. So that is a very powerful Rahu. Jupiter, third from Lagna, speech will be hypnotic. It will be penetrating. It will be intense, which it was, right? Jupiter, eighth from the moon, will bring deep knowledge of occult. Very dignified moon as well as Jupiter, right? Like, so eighth from each other, 8, 6, 8 from each other. So Rahu will enhance all the Jupiterian qualities during its dasha. And you can see from the moon, you were talking about, all of the, he had a lot of expensive cars, right?
Yes, Rolls Royce. Yeah. I guess it was 100 Rolls Royce or what? Yes.
Right? Like he was very fond of cars. And of course, his ashram is massive. So that Rahu sitting in that fourth from all of those planets. So
Definitely proves that, yes. And the thing is, the dispositor, see, I'll tell you what, see, Anahita, uh, okay, many people say that Osho used to contradict the established religion and the ideologies and all. He always used to rebel. But in a way, there was deeper wisdom, philosophy to prove that. Otherwise, see, the thing is, I'll tell you, when you come across people who are being ruled by planets like Saturn, Ketu, Rahu, they talk more on the lines of the spirit and this thing. But people who have Jupiter making any connection with the eighth house, there is still some sort of divine power or blessing which is guiding you. You are just an instrument of that divine bliss and grace.
yeah. And it's such a strong energy. It's retrograde, it's Ativakri, it's in Ashlesha.
Yes.
All of those right factors we have to see. It's not just from the moon, and so this is very important to understand, because that is a cult right there. Even if nothing else is happening in the chart, if we just take moon and Jupiter from each other, that's a cult knowledge right there, right? But yeah, I mean, how you were talking about, like, how people were so mesmerized by him, giving him gifts and giving him, like that, again, that's that connection with the Rahu and fourth and eighth,
It's
right?
like
And
your moon is surrounded by, see that this also proves, right? Your moon is surrounded by like almost like four planets around the moon. And they all are like, see, okay, Mars is a little bit on the 8 degrees, Mercury is 13 degrees, but Venus and Saturn are like almost very close conjunct. So that also tells about that you will always be surrounded by the followers, your loved ones, never be
yeah,
left alone, and wealth, opportunities, ideas, everything surrounds you.
he was very loved. He was very much loved. I mean, like, look at all of the benefits. All those three benefits are sitting in Venus's nakshatra, right? And Venus is Lagna Lord. I mean, Venus is sorry. He's a Venus Lagna
Yes.
in Rohini. So we have to look at the moon again. So so this is important to see. It's not just that, what he was saying was, very deep knowledge. Like, of course, all of that is there. But why was he so well received? And why was he so well loved? I mean, still today, you go to his ashram and I don't know if you've ever been, but it's beautiful property in Goregaon Park, like the most posh area of
In Pune, yes.
Pune. And you just walk down, even before you enter the gates, it's like it's a forested area. It's lush green everywhere. And it's sprawling, like it's huge. It's a huge property. And people come from all over the world. All over the world.
I
The
even, Anahita, I also watched his documentary on his life. Like, I guess it was Wild Wild West. So, like the Netflix documentary which came. So, see, definitely, like looking at his life, imagine a guy who was being loved by people from all over the world. In his during his last years, his like visa and all was rejected by more than 20 countries. So,
yeah.
life filled with controversy, scandals. Now there have been those theories that he was being poisoned and this and that. So his life is a true example of a life lived completely in the alignment in the axis of Rahu and Ketu.
Yeah,
That too
absolutely.
on a legitimate way. It's like we cannot say this thing that okay, everything was a poof. Everything has got so much substance to it that even today his books, his knowledge, his meditation practices are being followed. Like even I've got benefited listening to his preaching and all.
And I mean, the sun is so prominent in the seventh house, giving him that confidence. Like he was very confident. You see, and even the sun is sitting in Scorpio, natural eighth house. Like he was just like it wasn't just like we know that this is a past life knowledge coming out. Just it was just flowing out of him, and he was just so confident in his beliefs. Right? He was so I mean, he comes from a small town in India.
Yes. Mhm.
I mean, to do that, like to rebel against, just to go your own way, that's not an easy thing to do.
Yes, that time when it's like there used to be so much difference of opinion, and you are putting
1930s.
your life in threat. Talking against religion, you're putting your life in threat. And he openly ridiculed, contradicted, because he was more aligned and attuned to the soul.
Yeah. This is something we cannot ignore. we cannot ignore his background. The fact that he's born in the 30s in a small town, right? Because that's what makes this so much more magnanimous. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, yes, Anahita, yes, I can hear you, yes.
All right, so where there's Rahu, there's Ketu, right? So Ketu is sitting in Virgo. And I actually think Virgo is quite a strong place for Ketu. I know people think, oh, well, it's the opposite, but I think they both do well in that axis, the 6-12 axis. Ketu is going to fire up all the Mercury qualities, right? Mercury is conjunct Mars in Sagittarius, which made him very fiery, impulsive speech, right? But also very magnetic, very influential. His ideas were convincing. And of course, he was very pioneering, as we said, like his thoughts were, his actions followed his thoughts. They were very pioneering. Ketu in Virgo also gives a person the ability to be organized, right? They tend to like micromanage everything. It can make someone quite critical. Of course, he was very intense. He was a perfectionist. It can make you intense and also angry. And you would see that anyway with all of those planets in a fire sign. It can make one controlling with others. It will make you a very good problem solver, Ketu and Virgo, and you'll have special affinity with animals. Rahu Dasha helps to go in a completely different direction in life if you're moving towards that Rahu place, which of course he does, because that Rahu Dasha it came at a very prominent time in his life, right? Started in 1961. So he would have been exactly 30, right?
30 years, 1931 born, yes, 30.
He would have been exactly 30. What a fantastic time to really reap the rewards of Rahu. So he would have been exactly 30, and he started his Rahu Dash. Rahu sitting Jupiter sign, as we talked about, in Pisces. 5 more planets are also sitting in Jupiter sign. And we talked about this as well, Jupiter being in Cancer, Ati Bakri, the month. So 5 years later, he enters Rahu Saturn. Osho resigns his post as a lecturer at a university, again, in a small town in India. So he decides just to, like, this is not for him anymore. He's going to leave. So he was a university lecturer. He began traveling India, got noticed as a vocal critic of Orthodox religion. In 1970, in Mumbai, when he was in Rahu Mercury, he began initiating followers known as neo-sannyasis as part of his movement. Right? By 1972, he had initiated nearly 4,000 people. This is so apt for Rahu Mercury, right? 1974 was the big breakthrough. Rahu Venus usually does bring a breakthrough. He relocated to Pune, and that's where he had established his ashram, which is still there today.
And can you, I just wanted to see the slide where the Navmanch placement is also there. I guess it's then we can come back here in the 10th slide. It's in the second slide, I guess, right? I wanted to see one thing. There's one very beautiful observation here I'm just thinking about. They say that, okay, Rahu Ketu's placement in the ascendant chart tells about who you are. But what you will use it for, that we get to know from the D9 chart. See how he used Rahu deep inside with Venus in the 3rd house. And see how he used his Ketu with Jupiter in the 9th house. So
I talk about that later. Yeah, I mean, and so isn't it appropriate that Rahu Venus would bring that breakthrough? I mean, look at how strong that Rahu is in D9, and it's sitting with Venus. So whenever we have planets that when you're going through the Mahadasha and the Antardasha phase, and they're making a conjunction, either in the D1 or D9, or you could also see D60, we know that something, like big is going to happen.
Yes. And also one more thing, Anahita, if you will see over here, even the D9 chart, the ascendant Lord Moon is in the 4th house in the Libra, again in the Venus sign. So how strongly this person is being ruled by Venus. Like, see, I'm telling you, it's like that is the only reason, the kind of the feelings which he invoke in people's heart. It has got more to do with, along with Jupiter, Ketu, the feeling of love, being in love with your guru. You can definitely see that.
Definitely, you can see that. And that was his thing, love and compassion. He was just showing us how to look at all of these subjects that have been overshadowed by conventional religion, actually, right? Overshadowed by conventional religion because they don't teach us those things, actually. They teach us conventional religions, rather focus on fear and punishment.
Yes, yes.
Right. And so it's not just the Venus being so strong. I mean, that's definitely a part of it, because Venus being the guru is, we know that Venus is the guru for the Daityas, right? He's not so he's not going to be ritualistic and follow the rules like Jupiter. But look at his Jupiter. Even that Jupiter is like, forget it. I'm not going to follow any rules. I'm going to make my own rules. I'm going to make my own religion, right? Ati Bakri, retrograde in Cancer, in Ashlesha. I mean,
And
so
in the D9 chart, it is actually showing its true intent. That, okay, see, the thing is, Anahita, in lot many cases, the people who,
purpose, yeah,
yeah,
right.
people who get exposed that, okay, they are keeping a front of being a religious person, but they are just like any other hoarder. They want to hoard more ashram, gain more wealth, and that has got nothing much to do with the pure pious intent. You see
So,
his D9 chart to get all the answers.
but like let's be honest, he was not very well received in India.
Yeah, kind of the way he was received in the, yeah, outside of the, yes.
Exactly.
But I guess, Anahita, over here as well, see, I'll tell you what, over here as well, the eighth house comes into picture. Majority of the times what happen is that, see, people who are prominently being ruled by eighth house, they get their true fame after when they die. And that is the case. See, he comes from an era where sex was a taboo subject. And remember when he released that book, Sambhog Se Samadhi Tak, Sambhog Se Samadhi Tak. Oh my God, it broke all the records for the wrong reasons. Oh, it is like pornography. What are you doing? You're corrupting people's mind. See, and now people are falling in love with all his work. They've been searching the source of everything.
He was just very much ahead of his time, right?
Yes, you can say that. Very true. Very true.
Right. And again, what is that like when you're very like, that's again a strong Rahu Ketu, when you're very much ahead of your time, which he does have, right? In both D1 and D9, Rahu Ketu are on the 6-12 axis. So we know. So yeah, so Rahu Venus was the breakthrough when he set up the Pune ashram was established, which is still there. I mean, that's his legacy, right? 1977 to 78, due to change in government, the Pune ashram was levied to pay back taxes and 5 million. This would have been Rahu's son. Okay. Then Rahu Mars, which is the end of Rahu, brought a surprise as always. Mars is 12th lord sitting in the 8th house. So losses, of course, will be there. 8th house is sudden endings, death, inheritances, taxes, debts. We also see from there, right? So shortly after Jupiter Dasha started in 1981, Osho moved to America. Yeah, Jupiter Saturn. He then returned to India in 1986 during Jupiter Ketu. And then he died in 1990. He actually was, I think he was less than 60 when he died, right? Jupiter's son.
I guess, yeah, he was in 1931, he was born. So yeah, it was like close to 15. Yes,
Yeah.
59 years.
Yeah. But look at how much he did in his short
He
life.
contributed, yeah, how much he contributed to the world.
So if we talk about Rahu's gifts, Pune Ashram built in 1974, Rahu Venus conjunction in D9. And as I was saying, it's a massive, massive ashram, beautiful forested area. I mean, I've been to other ashrams in India, but I would say that this is like really a standout. It's a standout place. And they have like visitors from all over the world coming there every year, especially during like December time. It's called the International Meditation Resort. I think it used to be the case. I remember it used to be the case that in order to enter that ashram, you had to do a blood test.
Yes.
Because they were very open about like who can share, who can be with whoever, like, they had that concept.
Different spiritual practices without any prohibition and all. So yeah, hygiene and security and all these things need to be followed.
Right. And to make sure that people are disease-free when they're entering. So when I went there, let me tell you, when I went there, it was 2019, there was no test. So I think they've eliminated that, and they've changed it to an international meditation resort. So, they are evolving with the times. They're not kind of like stuck there. They have classes in a variety of spiritual techniques. It's got an outdoor pool, amazing food actually, and it attracts more than 300,000 people per year. Prominent visitors have included politicians, Dalai Lama. So
Anahita, it's like one of the actors, the famous media personality was Vinod Khanna, and there it has been written so much about him. It's like even if you'll see in the Google, there has been this picture of Vinod Khanna like this, and Osho, I guess, pressing his third eye, like the Ajna Chakra. And oh my God, like he almost abandoned his media career at the prime of his Bollywood career, and he joined Osho's ashram.
he didn't almost, he did. He abandoned not only he abandoned his family also. I mean, let's be frank, right? Like he had 2 children, he has 2 children and a wife, which he said, he's like, I'm gonna follow this man. And I think he even moved to America when Osho had, right?
Yeah.
He really like, and this man, Vinod Khanna, was a very famous A+ star. He
Yes.
wasn't like a
And I
I'm
guess,
still
I did a research on Vinod Khanna as well because, yeah, his charm and allure. I guess he was also born on 24th of some month, because I follow numerology as well. So it was 24th or 15th, but yeah, the number 6, Venus. So the like-minded guru and the energy, right? That's what you get attracted towards.
Yeah, totally. Right. That's that Venus, definitely. Definitely. And he was very much, I mean, I don't know much about Vinod Khanna or his like chart or anything like that, but I have watched his
Oh
films.
yeah, he was a charm. Yeah, he was a charming. Yes.
A charmer, like who hasn't watched, like, like if you grew up in India in this, especially in the 70s when he was very famous, I mean, he was like a very magnetic, romantic, charming man. Like so he was a top actor, and he just abandoned everything. And I think he was for a few years, right? And then he
Yes,
came back.
and see, the thing is, the picture which got circulated on the Google that time, oh my God, him being in that ecstatic and that, transcendental state, Osho pressing his Ajna Chakra, my goodness, yes, it happened, yes. And
Oh
see,
my
and there, no, the thing is, when he was, I guess, when he moved his whole commune to US, so we are just taking up the case of Vinod Khanna. There have been the royalties, so many royal families, royal people who used to visit him, stay in his ashram from all over the world.
Right, right. No, he had a very, very big international following because, as we said before, like his ideas were so unique and to the Indian society at that, in that era, right? Like it
I guess,
was,
and yeah, and another, he was very open about it right from the beginning. He used to say this thing that I am a guru of rich people. So if you have a problem with that, I remember there was like someone questioning him that, okay, why you have so much issues and why being a spiritual guy, why you have so many Rolls Royce? He said, okay, you are a guru of the poor people. You worry about the bicycle you have. And leave my Rolls Royce with me. So
yeah,
yeah,
he
that's
was,
how he grew it.
isn't it interesting? Because if you read about his life, like he was just unapologetic from from a very young age. He was like, this is just how I am. This is how I think. What is the problem? So, amazing level of confidence, right? Like really. So Ketu's talents, we cannot talk about Rahu and forget about Ketu. We often do that, but
Yes.
was also bringing home all of this, isn't it? Ketu sitting in Mercury's house, and Mercury in Jupiter's house. 6th house considered to be the pulse of healing arts, yoga, but also the ability to fight, right? Also the ability to fight that Ketu is giving him, to ward off all of those critics, to ward off all of those people like that are against his ideas. Like he's sort of like, yeah, and what is the problem? Like, so he often got into conflicts over his ideas and his rebellious nature, as you would anywhere in the world, not just India, but like as you would anywhere in the world. When you tend to be so much ahead of your time, right? You are going to be running into conflict. But he was able to transcend this conflict. It didn't quiet him. It didn't discourage him. It didn't affect him. Right. And that's that Ketu in Virgo. 1971, I think we touched on this. He entering the Rahu Ketu. That's when he was in Rahu Ketu, and he had,
It's like your whole presentation has been a very well compilation, but the Oscar and the Academy Award goes for this line. The Academy Award goes to Anahita for this line. In 1971, entering Rahu Ketu, he adopted the title Bhagwan. Amazing job, Anahita. See, Anahita, I'll tell you what this thing. See, in my consultation experiences, what I have generally seen is that whenever these two guys get activated in the dasha system of someone, this could be in the Mahadasha of the Rahu and the Antardasha of Ketu, or in the Mahadasha of Ketu, Antardasha of Rahu. When you hit this period, your life is so controlled by the third power, nature, cosmos. It is your free will is so down, it's so zero that whatever is the promise and the pulse of your chart will be delivered to you. So let's say, for example, if you have a promise of imprisonment yoga, that time it is bound to happen. No one in the energy in the world can stop it. And if during this time there is a yoga of you being throned to a king or a president, prime minister, CEO of a company or big achievement, it is bound to happen. So that's what I generally say to people like who come to me for consultation and they are like heading close to the Rahu Ketu time. I say,
yeah.
bro, in this time period, do whatever you want, just do not resist because it is beyond your control. So this was the promise which was delivered.
And I went through this a couple of years ago, so I know exactly what, I can relate to that completely. Not only that, and when people ask me about it, I actually just say, just do nothing. Like if you can, don't make any big decisions if it's possible. Just let it
Just go with
glide.
the flow.
Yeah. I mean, often, what happens is that you do that, because you don't even want to make any big decisions. You're sort of like, but something from the outside will just come and kick you in, like from behind. Like you won't even see it coming. I mean, it's it can be really big. And we're talking, and it doesn't matter how well placed they are and what's happening. It's just the nature of that, as you said, it's just the nature of that time. So the name changed from Acharya to Bhagwan. He said in his later years why he did it, because he was asked by an interviewer. He said, I love the term, at least a few years that will do, and then we can drop it, which is what he did. He just adopted it.
No, and Anhata, one more thing. The thing is, what was delivered to him in the Rahu Ketu was a promise which stick with him. In the latter half of his life, when he finally came back from US, and during that time, he for once he added or changed his name to Gautam Buddha. All the Buddhist communities and all they protested. He has to change it in 5 days. Then he changed it to Zorba Buddha, Zorba the Buddha something. They again started protesting. He has to change. But what happened in the Rahu Ketu stick with him. It was something which was nature, universe wanted him to embrace this. Nature was gifting him this.
That's a very interesting point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But the Academy Award goes to you for such a good line. It's amazing line, Anhat, I'm telling you.
But that was just how he was. He was just that is kind of the essence of Osho right there. The way he would talk and the way he would think. And this is Ketu, this is not Rahu. This is all Ketu. All of this. So now he explains it. Calling myself Bhagwan was simply symbolic. That now I have taken a different dimension to work. And it has been tremendously useful. Why has it been useful? Because all the wrong people automatically disappeared and a totally different quality of people started arriving. So it worked very well. It sorted out well. This is a quote from him, by the way. Only those who are ready to dissolve with me remained. All others escaped. They created space around me. Otherwise, they were crowding too much. And it was very difficult for the real seekers to come close to me. The crowd disappeared. The word Bhagwan functioned like an atomic explosion. It did well, and I'm happy I chose it. Isn't it interesting how he used the word explosion? Because that Ketu is very much connected to, no, I mean it. It's very much connected to explosion. And when you experience that Ketu Antardasha with Rahu, something explosive will happen for sure.
That's what we say. See, it's just like that. Being an astrologer, I'll tell you, Anahita, when you are working as an astrologer and you are not only working with the theoretical, the knowledge from the books and the shastras and all, with an awakened sense of third eye, and a client comes to you, okay, he's baffling, going through struggle in the first half of the life, and you have this awakened sense of seeing that, okay, bro, your true success will come post 42 when Rahu will get activated. From 42 to 56, the universe will give you something for which you do not have an idea. So, it's our job as an astrologer, when we see the potential of Rahu Ketu in the chart of the clients, specifically see, okay, this thing is more valid in the Indian community, where everyone is competing with just the social pressure. Oh, everyone is buying their house at the age of 30, I need to get it done. Everyone is getting married at 25, I need to get married at 25. Everyone is doing this, at this. It's not like that. Life does not happen like this. And when, I'm telling you, Narita, and when planets like malefic planets like Saturn, Rahu, and Ketu, when they will give you something which is incomparable with the other planets which would have given you or given someone else in the first half of the life. So, it's that too, it's our job as an astrologer to give people this kind of, assurance that universe has something else much bigger plan, but in the latter half of the life. So please do not make a fuss, be calm.
Exactly. Exactly. Be calm. Be calm. Don't compare. You know what the key is, and this happens in our culture so much, but everywhere more or less, but so much more in India,
Yes.
in culture, comparing with others, right? Everybody's always comparing with others, and you have to follow that what is it, like that formula, that cookie cutter formula.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're an outsider in some way.
Or you are a failure. Or you are a failure.
You're a failure. Actually, yeah. But things are changing, mindsets are changing. I mean, I see that a lot, more so in India than with Indians outside of India. Indians outside of
That's a different. Indians living outside is still different.
Still tend to be stuck in the past somewhat, like whatever. But yeah, no, this was, I like when I saw this, when I read about this Bhagwan thing, I was like, this is Ketu. This is not Rahu, this is Ketu. This is So on April 10th, 1981, this is another Ketu thing. Having discoursed nearly for 15 years, Osho entered a 3.5-year period of self-imposed public silence, which is so Ketu. This is such like a, right? And this was Jupiter. This was when he entered Jupiter. And look look at Jupiter and look at this. Jupiter Ketu.
In the 9th house, in the 9 chart.
So he stated in the first talk he gave after ending that 3 years of public silence on October 30th, 1984, that he had gone into silence partly to put off those who were only intellectually following him. Again, same thing with the Bhagwan title and with this. This is Ketu. What is the essence of Ketu? Ketu is rejection. Go away. Dissolve. He used the word dissolve. That's very much Ketu. That's very much Ketu. It's dissolve, it's scatter. Why are you here? The question is, why are you floating around? Okay, let me try and experiment and see if you're going to still be here. Ketu is a truth seeker, right? Ketu is going to be like, wait a second. I've done, like, the Rahu bit has called in all of this, where I'm living, who I'm surrounded by, what I'm doing. You know what? Let me just check on this, how real this is. How real is this? Is this authentic? Let me just check it out. This is so we can see he's very much like he was, yes, he's Venus personality, but he was very, very much connected to that Ketu also in the in the chart. So then he says, first, my silence was not because I have said everything. My silence was because I wanted to drop those people who were hanging around my words. Again, same with that Bhagwan, what he did with the Bhagwan thing. I wanted people who can be with me, even if I am silent. I sorted out all those people without any trouble. They simply dropped out. 3 years was enough time. And when I saw all those people, and there were not many, but they were hanging around my words, I don't want people to just believe in my words. I want people to live my silence. I mean, this is the epitome of teaching through example. Like, if you look at Osho's chart, the essence of him is he is a teacher. He's a guru, like he's a teacher. You don't have to call him a guru or give him a Bhagwan title, whatever. But the essence of him is, this is teaching. This is real teaching, right? In these 3 years, it was a great time to be silent with my people and to see their courage and their love in remaining with a man who perhaps may never speak again. I wanted people who can be with me even if I'm silent.
You know, Anita, very good job with this slide. I'm telling you. See, it's like, you did such a, so many people will be grateful and thankful to you for your this work. Because see, he has done so much work, but you handpicked the core which is resonating with Ketu, because he was a man with reservoir of knowledge, unlimited, which cannot be comprehended or calculated. But you picked the right thing which matches with the Ketu. So amazing, amazing job, Anita.
Yeah. No. And the other Ketu talents that are very important to understand. And, because I told you, I spent some time at that ashram. I think I was there for about, I want to say 4 or 5 days. I was in Pune anyway. So I went there because I didn't go there just for this, but I was there anyway. So I think I spent about 4 or 5 days there. And he has these amazing meditation techniques, which I've never seen anywhere else. So there was apparently more than 100 meditation techniques. He has this one called active meditation that they're still doing. So it's characterized by stages of physical activity, and that includes even dancing and churning in the room and things like that. And then you are silent for a while. And that's dynamic. It's called dynamic meditation, actually. Performed with closed or blindfolded eyes. It comprises of 5 stages, 4 of which are accompanied by music. Music was also a very big thing in the ashram. Music, food. Again, that's that Taurus, isn't it? The last stage of the meditation consists of 15 minutes of dancing and celebration. So yeah, I did experience that firsthand. It was very interesting. And he has in the evenings at the ashram, and they have, it's interesting. They have there's a dress code. You have to wear the gowns. So that,
Yes.
you know that, and they have 2 different. So they have the maroon gown for the day, and men and women both wear it. It's a maroon color gown, and in the evenings for the meditation sessions, it's a white one. So that's that Ketu that's like so organized, like in Virgo, it's so like thought out. Like this is like there's like the details, isn't it? So yeah, so that's Osho, with his like.
Amazing, amazing job, Anita. And Anita, one more thing, it's like about any of your upcoming courses and how people can get in touch with you for consultation for courses. Just
There's a
about.
slide for that too. So yeah, so if you have comments, questions, my website, please have a look at that. And yeah, courses, I have done a couple of courses. You can purchase them online. They're like quite sort of like basic courses, one in Jaimini and one in Jyotish. I mean, for like I find that our viewers tend to be quite like knowledgeable already in Jyotish. But if you want like a prescriptive course that lays out the foundation, yeah, then I recommend the introduction to Jyotish. But if
No,
you
see,
want,
Anita, see, that's what the thing is. We always feel that, okay, because we know everything, so there must be people who knows. No, but there are like those people who are just starting off with their journey. Their spiritual awakening, for us, it happened little bit before. And for them, they are just starting up with that phase. And the right authentic knowledge in a structured way from the right authentic teachers is always in demand. So yeah, definitely not many people will get benefited. Thanks a lot.
yeah. So,
So
well,
yeah, thanks a lot,
yeah,
Anita. So definitely, again after this, we will be having one more conversation, and then we will again do our brainstorming, and we will leave it to the universe to suggest as the topic for the next video. But
sounds good.
again, Anita, amazing job. I couldn't be more grateful, thankful. The much work which you have done, each and every slide just tells about your own, state of Rahu and Ketu as well. That so strongly you're connected with the nature and the universe that they instill the right ideas, right thoughts, right material for the slides. So such
Yeah,
a amazing job, Anita. Thanks a lot. And Rahu Ketu has always been a mystery for everyone. And they have actually in our traditional books, they have been given a very bad reputation, bad rep. So this whole presentation of yours just tells about the glorified and the magnified side of their power. How much
yeah,
strongly they are needed in our life. They might
absolutely.
take time. They might take time. But when they will come, oh my God, then you will be everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks a
Well,
lot, Anita. I will look forward to doing some another video with you. So once again, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
okay.